Welcome to 1107 Radio. Hi, I'm Dave Vickers, and this is 1107 Radio. So what exactly is 1107 Radio? Okay, so it's a radio-style podcast that's also on YouTube. No, hang on. It's a YouTube channel that's a radio-style... Look, to be honest, even I don't know what this is. It's a bit of an experiment, so we're giving it a go, and this is episode 1. The idea behind this is that it's a radio-style show that just plays unsigned music. So if you're an unsigned band, solo artist, music project, whatever you want to call yourself, and you'd like to have the chance to be played on 1107 Radio, I'll put a link up here to another video which will give a description of exactly what you need to do to be able to get your music to us so you have a chance of being on the show. It's going to be really simple. We're going to make it as easy as possible. Now what I thought I'd do with the first show is just use bands I know, play their music so you get an idea of what we're trying to do here. I've also got an interview with the fantastic Dave Earl, who was originally from the band Lightning Strikes and now is with the fantastic band of the Underhand, and he's coming up later, and that's well worth staying to watch. Okay, let's get straight on with the show. Now the first band I'm going to play is Daniel Takes a Train. Now Daniel Takes a Train are an indie pop band that were originally formed in the 1980s. They had a few singles out and a bit of success, but like a lot of bands, it didn't quite go the way that they wanted it to. The band split up. Then 30 years later, due to a few Facebook posts and them sharing a few of the songs on social media, a German record company got in touch and actually put out the album that they should have put out 30 years earlier. They're now back with their second album, which is called Last Ticket to Tango, and the track we're going to play off of that is Sleeping with the Enemy. So here we go, this is the first track we're going to play on 1107 Radio. It's Daniel Takes a Train and the fantastic Sleeping with the Enemy.
a Russian lover with a license to thrill. I've soon discovered that spies like her, you won't find another. I met her in a bar at a state reception. With lips like sugar, I made an exception. Should have known better, should have called a bluff. She had me in a spell from Russia with love. Don't wanna be nobody, just moving down the line. Moving down the line. A briefcase full of secrets. It's no time to die. Do you promise not to tell? No more whispers in the bedroom. 20 years in
So there we go. That was Daniel Takes a Train and Sleeping with the Enemy. I want to give a shout out to James, Paul, Jez and the rest of the band and thank them for letting us use the music on the show. We're going to try and get Daniel Takes a Train on the show for one of the interviews as well, because they got some fantastic stories from back in the day. Let's get straight on with the show now. The next thing we're going to do is go to our interview with the fantastic Dave Earl. Dave was kind enough and brave enough to come in and sit down and film an interview with me and tell some fantastic stories of playing in New York and having Sister Sledge singing in the back of the car to him. So let's go across and watch the interview with the brilliant Dave Earl. So where did music start for you? Sort of, yeah, was there music around the house, or was that sort of, you know?
No, not really. My dad was a Sinatra and Dylan man, and my dad loved jazz.
Okay.
He was one of early members of Ronnie Scott's, and he was into skiffle and stuff like that.
Right, yeah,
so he played in skiffle bands and all things like that. So although he liked his music, it wasn't something that was, I would say, come from my house. Really, it come from my best mates who lived across the road, Pete, Nicky and Julian. Pete, who's in Band of the Underhand with me as well.
Oh, okay, yes, is that Pete?
Yeah,
oh, right, okay, yeah.
Like, and for me, the first kind of things were Queen, Elvis Presley, and the Jesus Christ Superstar soundtrack.
Because I mean, that's people say that sort of Jesus Christ Superstar. It sounds like but at the time that was quite a hippie, 60s.
Yeah, it was
vibe, wasn't it?
To this day, I still think that it's it's got some awesome songs. The guitar and the musicianship on it is amazing.
Yeah.
The guitar, the riffs, the bass playing. Judas is just like got the best voice ever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So as kids, that had a real major influence on us. I don't know if it was because we was all Catholics, but you know what I mean. We would reenact it. You know what I mean. It was just like it was a main thing for us, and it was a real big step into music. And then obviously Queen as well. I think we're talking up until sort of all that jazz, and then we kind of
I mean? Yeah, I agree with that.
And then the punk thing come along, and they got into the Pistols and the Clash and Tom Robinson band, and that was that. And we moved on to that, and we forgot Queen.
So what sort of age were you when sort of like you first heard punk stuff, and what was the first sort of influence?
I'd probably been about 11, 12. And the Bill Grundy interview, I remember watching that with my mum and dad. And then I think it was it was I suppose it would have been the Never Mind the Bollocks type things that come out, God Save the Queen and stuff like that.
Because it was, I mean, the fact that it was Jubilee year as well, it got so much coverage for the controversy it caused at the time.
Yeah.
Which we were saying earlier, I don't think that could happen now. I think that I think it actually broke some barriers where people are a lot less likely to be offended by what happened then than they would be now.
Yeah, I think it was a very, very different country then.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It was, shops shut at, early days on a Wednesday or whatever. Do you know what I mean? There was nothing open on a Sunday apart from the offie.
Yeah.
So it was very, you know what I mean? We still had the bomb sights and the corrugated iron and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like I say, for me, Elvis was massive. One of my first records was the 40 Greatest, taping, actually with a cassette taping the Satellite. Aloha from Hawaii was just like, so Elvis was massive, was really big. But and then after the punk, obviously with the punk, then you moved on to the kind of the two-tone
ska,
the specials and stuff like that, Madness and things like that. And obviously being South London, we would go out and play football in the cage, which was a caged area surrounded by the flats. And on a Sunday, then you was open to people having the windows open and playing reggae. Yeah,
because we were talking about this the other day. I was watching reggae performance on TV, and I was trying to explain to my kids that it kind of kicked off in Jamaica and here. It was kind of reggae kind of launched. South London owned reggae kind of as much as
it just seeped through it.
Yeah,
it wasn't like it was just there. It was in the ether.
I know.
Somebody had the window open.
Yeah.
That's how you heard reggae.
Yeah.
It wasn't, through the radio or anything like that. It was through someone's open window.
It just seeped into South.
And then
London.
obviously bands like the Clash and stuff like that. We picked up on the reggae thing.
And
So yeah.
So how do you go from sort of being a music fan and sort of to starting to actually play music as a band? Where did that start for you?
Pete and his brothers had a bedroom band who would rehearse on a Saturday once their dad had gone out, called the Clinkers, and it was just they were just, to me, they was the best band around, because they was, you know what I mean, I was there, I'd help set up the gear, and we was just and then they constantly rehearsed, but we, at that time, no one knew anything about how to get gigs or rehearsal studios or anything like that. It was just like, no, we just didn't know. So they would rehearse in a church hall. And then I used to walk down this road called Rotary Street, which was this kind of derelict road with an old Sunday school building, coming home from school every day. Yeah. Nondescript. And then one day I walked past, and outside the building was Theatre of Hate. And I was a massive Theatre of Hate fan. And I just, what the fuck? You know what I mean? Yeah. So I went up and spoke to him, and I went home, I got changed, I ran back, and I stood outside the door with my ear to the letterbox, listening to them rehearse and stuff like that. Wicked. Flea, their roadie, and John Boy and Stan and Kurt would speak to me. And then from there I got into the studio, where I met Rob Furkettle, who ran the studio, and from there I was talked to him about Pete's band, the Clinkers, and he went to see the Clinkers, and then we got them to rehearse at the studio. And this was at a time when a 3-hour rehearsal slot would be, they'd share it with another band, because they didn't have like
enough material. You know what I mean? Yeah.
And this studio was amazing. I mean, it was never advertised as a place to rehearse, but you had, you know, the Ruts, the Slits, Boy George, Curiosity Killed the Cat, Aztec Camera, Theatre of Hate, Death Cult, Big Audio Dynamite. It was just everybody just rehearsing.
And where is this in?
This is South. Well, this is up just off St George's Circus sort of area.
Okay.
Back London Road.
Yeah. No, I know exactly what you mean.
So you know, so this place had a real vibe about it. Yeah. So from there, we got put a couple of gigs on through Rob, and then I started to hang around, and then my mates asked me to play bass, learn how to play guitar with them for their band Ministry of Truth. And I only got asked really because my clothes were all right.
Yeah, it's important though. Yeah, the look.
I couldn't play. I was the original. Who's the one from the Manics? Richie. I was the original Richie. Right, okay, I couldn't play, but I just... And I think my first gig was round a corner in a pub. And my second gig, I would have been about 14, 15 maybe, was at the Embassy Club in Old Bond Street.
Oh, yeah.
Which was like kind of strange, because my mum and dad was there. You had the bus boys running around in little red satin shorts, and it was about £4 for a beer back then. And so I did that. And then when I got kicked out of that for not being out of play, I started my own thing, Flowers in the Desert with Eddie. I know. I started my own thing with Eddie, who I'd met on my first day of secondary school at a bus stop.
Okay.
He was standing there, he had a blue Adidas bag, and on it he had The Clash and The Jam written. So I just spoke to him, and from there we've maintained a friendship.
And that went on to become Lightning Strikes, was it?
Yeah. We did Flowers in the Desert for a while. And then when that kind of had run its course, we started Lightning Strike.
Wicked. Well, as soon as we're talking about Lightning Strike, should we play a track?
Okay.
What do you want to do? What should we go? Beats International?
Beatbox International. I think that was a good one. Maybe a single that never was.
Okay, let's play that. So this is Lightning Strike, Beatbox International.
International. stand. She's biding her time. Everything is fine. We got the people queuing up now. Just to stand in line. 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 One more time. Shadows fast. Beatbox International on my freedom radio. Beatbox International calling me, but I think I wanna go. Beatbox International on my freedom radio. Beatbox International calling me, but I think I wanna go. Beatbox, she's got a beatbox. Yeah, she's got a beatbox. Well, she's got a big beatbox.
Brilliant. So that was like that was Beatbox International.
Yep.
Now, that was that recorded in New York.
Yeah, at a record plant in New York.
So how did you go from being banned in South London to recording in New York? How does this happen?
Fluke. Bad timing, really. Lightning Strike. We was the same as any other band. We was putting on our own gigs. We was playing places like the Greyhound, wherever, downstairs at the Clarendon and stuff like that.
Yeah.
One day, me and Eddie went to up to the West End to watch Joe Strummer's film Straight to Hell.
Yes, yeah.
Got the timing wrong. It was too early, so we decided to go to the pub. We walked into the Intrepid Fox on Wardour Street.
Oh, yeah, I remember, yeah.
Which was a pub we never go to because if we was going to the Marquee, we'd always go to the Ship.
Right, okay.
But we walked into the pub. We walked into there was music blaring. The bar staff, the female bar staff, were all in red rubber dresses.
But yeah, I remember those days.
And we was just like... I saw a girl behind the bar and I went back to that pub every day afterwards chatting to that girl.
Yeah.
Who I ended up marrying. But that's where we met Kevin Daly, who was run the pub, but he'd also had links with sort of 20 Flight Rockers and stuff like that.
Okay.
And we got him down to rehearsal and he started managing the band. And literally, I worked it out the other week, within 6 months of him starting to manage the band, we was in New York playing... I think we played about 14 shows about 14 shows in 2 weeks or something. And we got signed to RCA, and
because one of them, what you did CBGBs.
Yeah.
Now, anyone, with any that's a marker for any band to have played CBGBs.
At the time though, we didn't really know that.
I think was it the fact that it became legendary after it had gone, or just when
I think it was always legendary. It was like the Marquee, it was always was always legendary. But I think sometimes we was a bit kind of channeled in what we knew musically.
Right. Okay.
We played Gossips, and Joey Ramone was at the Gossips gig, and he'd asked if we'd come on and do a song with him, and we didn't know a Ramone song. So you know what I mean. So being at CBGB's, we knew it was a good thing, but we didn't really realise till afterwards how good it was.
But that's a proper CV point, though, isn't it?
Yeah. But you know what I mean. It was a great venue. It was a kind of cross between the Marquee and Dingwalls, really, because it was. I remember it being very long.
Yeah.
I remember the beer being Rolling Rock or Corona. And there was just, it had that Marquee type vibe.
Because I see something recently, because it's a clothes shop now, I think. What it is now, but they've kept sort of like elements of the original, like I think the stage is in the same place, and they've got a lot of the stuff that was on the walls originally. So you go in and it's kind of set up like CBGB's was, except it's a clothes shop.
It was an eye opener because we played there. I think we weren't on till 1 o'clock in the morning or something stupid, and we sat in the van outside waiting to go on.
Yeah,
and next to CBGB's, the Barry was really run down then. It was real like frontline.
Yeah.
And there was a apartment building, and there was the crack dealers were outside. And every so often, you'd see limos pull up and you know, just panhandlers pull up, and every so often someone would throw a bucket of boiling water down the stairs, and they'd all run out, and then they'd all come back again. And we watched this. There was a bike chained up to it, and we watched this dude walk along, start me, looked at the bike, walked away, come back with a big scaffold pole. Spent about 20 minutes levering this thing up. Broke the chain, took the chain and the bike, and just walked off. And no one paid any attention to it. And we were just sitting there kind of going, oh, it's all a bit strange. And we'd gone out there. It was Craig Duffy had introduced us to his girlfriend at the time, and her friend, and they were Jane and June. And Jane was actually Sweet Jane from the Lou Reed song.
Okay, right. Oh yeah.
They took us out and got us the gigs.
Yeah.
And we took Normski with us as our photographer. We'd met him. He'd done some photos with us for a Record Mirror, and we just got on like a house on fire. So he came out of us, and his mum thought he was mad coming out with his kind of crazy white dudes. You know? And the first night we was meant to be staying in this geezer's flat. I think he was on the Bowery as well, actually. This geezer called Lewis, and he had like a face like a pit bull and a voice of pure gravel, shaved head. And the first night we was in there, we was all just keeping on the floor, and he went ballistic with his girlfriend upstairs, and there was lots of like running around and shouting and screaming, and she's shouting he's got a gun, and we just went, fuck this, we're gone. We ended up spending the night in the cafe, and after that we kind of got farmed out to various places around New York to sleep for the rest of the time. Which ended up
exchange trip.
Some of the boys that I think me and Normski ended up sleeping at June's place on a pull-out fucking sofa bed, and I think some of them ended up in New Jersey in a Winnebago, and so the whole thing was kind of.
And what age were you when this was happening?
21.
This is it. At the time, it's all exciting, but you look back and think, I mean, like, my daughter's 22, and I go. It was crazy. It was very intense. Kevin was very intense. He was very, kind of not what he said went, but what he said went. He was a very much a Bernie Rhodes, Malcolm McLaren type character. Okay.
You know, this real like gift of the gab. Cross between that and sort of half a daily, but gift of the gab, and what he told you believed, and afterwards, even a few years later, I went, no, that couldn't have ever happened, and I realised it didn't. But at the time, we were in this bubble,
and you go with what you go.
And it was very intense. You know, we went to RCA Records, and we was in because RCA were interested in us when we was out there. We went there. At the time, we had no money or anything, so we would go there and get given a load of free records, go down the road and sell the free records to buy our food. Jeez. And I had a Mohican, and one time I was in the bathrooms there having my Mohican shaved, and the head of A&R walked in and did his bollocks. You know what I mean? It's just like, what? But when we signed, he gave me the key to the executive bathroom.
Oh, okay.
But so there was loads of weirdness like that. We had a girl came on stage with us at one time, you know, at one of the gigs, and she literally stripped off from below the waist, and there was a big fight in the crowd over it, and we got involved, and I remember there was RCA at the back. There was the first gig that they'd all come to see us at, and just all kicked off in this venue. So it was like eventful. It was different.
So what happened with the album? Because was the album released in the UK?
Yeah, it was released here and in America, but here we were treated as an American band, so we went through RCA International here.
Okay, yeah.
So we were kind of treated like, not lepers, but you know what I mean. They was just like, oh yeah, but you're just not really part of our thing.
Yeah.
So we had interest from like Polydor. We'd signed a deal with Capitol, a handwritten deal that we went in and hand wrote ourselves, and the geezer signed it and put us in the studio, and then he changed his mind, and that meant that we spent the evening in the studio with baseball bats to defend our tapes that he said he was coming to get.
Okay, yeah.
So it was another.
But there was only the one that you only ended up doing the one Lightning Strikes album.
Yeah, we did the one album. And then the first single over here was meant to be Exocet Alley, and because it mentioned Jeffrey Archer paying a prostitute. RCA lawyers went, no, I can't do that. Can't put that out. So it ended up.
Oh no, he did.
So that got shelved. So then, and it wasn't included on the UK album. It was only included on the American album. So yeah, the album got out, and by then we'd flown back. We went back in, I think, early '88 to record the album at the record plant with Bill Whitman from Cyndi Lauper. We recorded that and really quickly. I think it was like sort of less than a month, you know what I mean?
Right, yeah.
It was like literally, it wasn't much money spent on it. And then we flew back and went straight on the Stiff Little Fingers tour, which again was another event. For everything we did ended in chaos. We ended up getting kicked out of the Brighton venue. We'd have Normski on stage with us with a baseball bat. They wasn't giving us any. We weren't being given any lights or monitors or anything.
Right, yeah.
Eddie kicked the monitors off the stage. We got kicked out of the venues. So it was like we was changing dressing rooms with them because we would get there first, undoing drum kits. So it was like, it was another
chaos.
Yeah.
Well, as soon as we talked about Exocet Alley, should we play that?
Okay,
Seeing as it wasn't released over it. Let's play Exocet Alley and then we'll...
If they want to sue anyone, they can sue Kevin because he's dead.
So this is Lightning Strikes, Exocet Alley.
Through the night, dealers with slack, these are the facts. Living on the street, it ain't so sweet. Time to play us down in Exocet Alley. Don't you know it's death in the valley? Dealers with slack, these are the facts. Living on the street, it ain't so sweet. Time to play us down in Exocet Alley. Don't you know it's death in the valley? Against the oxophone. Dealers with slang, these are the facts. Living on the street, it ain't so sweet. The time to friends down in Exocet Alley. Don't you know? Well, it's death in the valley. Well, it's death in the valley. Well, it's death in the valley. In the valley. We took the old Joe man, Uncle Sam. They lived across the rest of us, kilo slam. In the Falklands it was England and the Argentine. Now in the Gulf it's the US and a radio man. Trying to blow some dollars to make a bomb. Just reaction, play the hook, the party didn't get a bar. Trust a peace treaty with one army at your back. Keep the public down and that is a fact. In the valley, dealers with smack, these are the facts. Living on the street, it ain't so sweet. Time to press down in Exocet Alley. Don't you know? Well, there's death in the valley. Dealers with smack, these are the facts. Living on the street, it's so sweet. Time to press down in Exocet Alley. Don't you know? I said, don't you know? I said, don't you know? There's death in the valley.
Right, so that was Exocet Alley, Lightning Strike. So that was never on the UK release of the album.
No, only the American one.
So after the album comes out and it's did it do well or was it?
No, it was just a complete and utter cock up, really. We'd done Radio 1 session, and it was a weird time in England, and it was a weird time in London.
What year are we talking here?
88.
88, okay. Yeah.
Weird time in London.
Yeah.
We did our very own version of the Anarchy tour. We got Boys Wonder and Crazy Pink Revolvers involved, and we went on tour. We got sponsored. At the time, it was around the kind of all the for about AIDS. So we got a Jiffy, we were a condom company, to sponsor the tour. And we went on tour, and we would share the headline every night, rolling headline, and that was brilliant. We had such good fun that every band liked the other band. We all got on well. It was a real gas, and it was brilliant fun. We did that, but there was, you look at Boys Wonder. Boys Wonder were the original Britpop band. They was well ahead of the game.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Blur, were an afterthought compared to them. That was an amazing band, and they still are, but they was just so far ahead of anything we were doing, really. Crazy Pink Revolvers, again, great band. But we would get a lot of, I don't know if it was, it felt like you was getting demonised being from London, and loads of people, all we get getting was, sound like the Clash, sound like the Clash, sound like the Clash. And I still say we never sounded like the Clash.
I don't think you do. Yeah, I think the same with sort of, I think what a lot of us do. You pull in your music history.
Yeah.
You can't help that. It's in your DNA. You play what you like to play, and somewhere in that there's elements of what you've listened to in the past.
At that time, we was aiming for a rap and roll kind of thing. We were, if you said our main influences musically would have been stuff like the Beastie Boys and the Pistols.
Okay.
We wanted to do rap stuff, but with the power of the Pistols.
Yeah.
Yeah, we used to wear the combat gear and stuff like that, and maybe that's where the Clash thing comes from. But we also used to wear a lot of leather stuff, and no one ever said we were like 20 Flight Rockers.
Yes. Yeah.
So, but there was elements of 20 Flight Rockers in our whole thing. They're having the jackets painted and stuff like that. So, and then Manic Street Preachers come along a few months later with their painted shirts and everything, and I think because they were from Wales, it was all right.
You
and I'm not trying to sound bitter, but I really do.
I think because if you look at even sort of music history all the way through, there are very few bands that are actually London bands. I mean, people go, oh yeah, like you go, even the 60s, you go, the Rolling Stones. It was Dartford. They weren't, okay, it's on the outskirts of London, but it wasn't a London band. Mm. The Clash were like one of the first. Clash, Madness, Sex Pistols. There's very few sort of actual bands from London. And, a lot of it is Liverpool, obviously, Manchester, and Wales. Wow. I mean, Wales has put some pucker bands out there, but the London bands, I think, do have a. I don't think it wasn't London bands, but I think there's always been sort of a.
I don't know. Personally, looking at it, it just seemed a weird time as well. Like people maybe weren't going to gigs like they were going to gigs before or now. Also, the audience age group. I was taking my daughter to see bands like, I took her to see Rancid and Panic at the Disco and stuff like that, and My Chemical Romance and Good Charlotte. And there was kids there that were like 13, 14, 15. Whereas back when we was doing stuff, there was no one there that age.
No.
You know what I mean? It was a weird time. And I think, like anything, we just kind of imploded.
And so it was a one album tour.
We did one album. We parted company with our manager, which was really toxic at the time, and they wanted us. The American company wanted us to sign with an American manager. Kevin was signed as a member of the band.
Okay.
So if we'd have signed as an American manager, it wouldn't have impacted on him at all.
Yeah.
Except for he would have, in his eyes, lost some control, and Kev was all about control. The American manager they wanted to sign with went on to manage Nirvana, so I take it he wasn't that bad a manager.
He might have done all right, yeah.
You never know. Maybe we could have been doing this from the Barbados. But, you know...
Well, you could.
I'd have flown you out, don't I? So it kind of imploded after that, and RCA were going to... I found out literally a few years ago, because I'm still in touch with Mark, our A&R man, and RCA were going to re-release the album.
Okay.
They were going to get some American managers, going to re-release the album, And as usual with record companies, someone gets a sack, new broom comes in, and everyone gets dropped.
Yeah.
We demoed the second album. You know, I mean, we demoed about 30 odd tracks for the second album and stuff like that. And we moved on from what we was doing. We kind of slowed. We was using saxophone and stuff like that. We'd slowed down a lot, and we was concentrating more on the songs rather than. I mean, we used to do a half-hour set in 26 minutes.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Bust for it.
So we kind of we changed. We linked in with another manager who used to do Madness and someone else that used to do I don't know, it was Genesis or something like that. But and then we carried on as a band and worked through. Obviously, music had changed. We was experimenting with more dance stuff, remixes and stuff like that. And then around '92, we just stopped. We didn't split. We just stopped. We was doing other things, and it just naturally ground to a halt.
I don't think that's unusual. I think that kind of happened with Underdog when I was doing that, and that kind of like I kind of started that. That came around '92 and like into up to about '96, and that kind of never broke up. It just kind of run its course. If some of the things that happened later on in that. Yeah, we were getting radio play, we were getting A&R interest and all that. If that had happened 2 years earlier, it might have been a different story. But you just kind of run a course, I think.
I kind of think back, it would obviously maybe we was. Like I say, I was 21, and you don't know what you're doing at 21. You know what I mean? You're getting told so many different things. You don't know who to believe. Looking back at it now, maybe we could have just been looked after a little bit more.
That's the story of everyone knowing it.
We just needed an arm put around us, a bit of protection,
Yeah.
and a bit of a bit of guidance,
Yeah.
a bit more guidance. And it was hard. We were planning to move out to America, and that never happened. And I think if we'd have moved out to America, things would have been different. But it is what it is.
Yeah, but again, that's part of the reason why I wanted to do this anyway and talk to people like yourself. Is that for bands that are starting out and younger bands that are starting out. You've got a lot more access to help now. You've got a lot more, stuff on the internet and all that. But there's no substitute for having someone that's been there and done it. Saying, do you know what I mean?
I spoke about this recently, and it's so painful. Because it was me that sacked Kevin. I did it was me that got
you had that. What was my job?
I got the backlash of everything. Do you know what I mean? It was me because I lived in the pub with Kevin. I was always there. I had the band 24 hours a day.
Yeah.
I couldn't go to bed until it was time to go to bed. What are you wearing that for? You know what I mean? It was literally like that, and I hated every minute of it mostly.
Yeah,
I really did, and the boys enjoyed it more than me because they was detached from it.
They didn't know that.
When we went to New York, we was talking about things the other day that happened in New York. John was talking about going out for drinks with Maria McKee and a guitarist, and I was like, I never did that. They went to see Statue of Liberty. I never did that. I was stuck in the studio doing
you know
what I mean? I wasn't, and so for me it was so intense. The day me and Kevin we flew out to New York to do press and college radio and all that, and we drove from New York to LA and back again. The day we flew out, we found out that a mate of ours, Paul, had killed himself.
Oh, jeez.
And I think for me then, that was the end of it.
Right.
I'd made up my mind then.
Yeah. That was
when someone's saying to you, do you want to go to New York? We're going to drive, and you're going, I don't really want to go.
Yeah.
It's like, what am I doing this for?
Yeah,
but I carried that guilt till probably recently. Wow. You know what I mean? The fact that maybe if I'd have made different decisions, things would have been different for the rest of the boys. So I carried their guilt.
Yeah. No, I know what you mean. Yeah. I can understand it because the thing is, and it's a thing that, especially if you've had a band that's worked together and had that intensity, it is kind of like a divorce, or you kind of walk away from it and. Nobody really speaks to each other for quite a while. There's kind of it takes a long time for the dust to settle because people are bitter about it breaking up. People or whatever sense. So what happened after Lightning Strike? Once that's
the Lightning Strike thing. Well, like I say, we moved on to become Big City Groove with various drummers and stuff like that, and that was it was really good. It was around the time of the dance thing, you know, you had EMF and Big Audio Dynamite and stuff like that, and it was good. But we never had that intent. Stuart Bailey said that we went on to do other things, but we never had that intensity. We never had that
spark of the original.
And I think that was where we needed that person to come in and. But I got to like 92. I did some dance stuff with Tony, and we had a couple of singles out. We an act we had called King Sound. But I'd started to do roadieing and tour managing. So I was working with Curiosity Killed the Cat and Boy George and the Good Strawberries, Sister Sledge and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I got into doing that, and I just stopped doing music. I just got rid of everything. I just stopped.
Yeah. Now I think everyone. I'm just thinking back now. I mean, sort of, my band ending coincided with kind of marriage, kids, and all that side. And I kind of, there was a few years there when everything got put away, and then sort of as the kids got older, I kind of started to come back into it and all that and that I completely understand. So you went off doing. How long were you doing roadieing for?
I did that for a couple of 3 years probably.
Life.
Yeah, it was. I mean, I got in a major accident when I thought we had a broken neck, a major car accident where we got written off by an Arctic lorry driving in the back of us. But again, we had some amazing times. I loved working with Curiosity. And that was literally again another fluke.
And was that right in their
No, it was after their sort of their sort of heyday as such. But a mate of mine, Sean, was working as their roadie, and Dave was rehearsing in a Terminal Studios.
Okay, yeah.
I literally went into the pub to meet them, and they was going on a tour the next day, and I just blagged myself the gig of roadieing. I said, I just want to go away. I said, don't pay me. And it went from there to there to there. I ended up playing on stage with them a couple of times. I ended up being the only one on stage at a couple of shows, you know what I mean, with Ben and stuff like that. But again, they opened my eyes to new things. Johnny Guitar Watson, Dr. John.
Yeah. Do
you know, the Meters,
and I think it's interesting as well, sort of to see, like you say, you're coming out of sort of like a punk rap band, to sort of see what it's like, with an audience and a thing of a different style of band.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I got to see James Brown play in Romania. In an old town square with the Transylvanian mountains in the background. It was just like, amazing. And I got to drive Sister Sledge around in the back of the bus, and have them singing gospel a cappella.
That's mental.
Magic things times. Like that you forget about. And all of a sudden someone says something like this, and you go, "Oh yeah, that happened."
Yeah. Things you can't buy. Yeah, this is it. You cannot. You can't pay to have Sister Sledge in the back of the car singing at you.
Amazing. Elton. We did an Elton John show with George Michael, Lisa Stansfield, and it was all the things like Lisa Stansfield at Royal Albert Hall.
Okay.
And M People tour and Ministry of Sound tour and stuff like that. We had some. Again, it was great. I worked with some really good people, but again, it does. It takes its toll on it, and I've got friends that have been doing it for years, Flea and Rick and Davis and stuff like that, and this last year they've been cut totally adrift by this government and been left with nothing. And that breaks your heart, because these are people that it ain't all glamour.
No,
this
is the thing.
It is 20-hour days.
What it takes, this is it. People, if for anyone that's sort of not in that world, what it takes to get that hour on stage.
Right. You're the first one in, you're the last one out.
And the work that takes from the roadies, the lighting, the sound people, what that actually takes to get that hour you've paid your money to go and see is mind-blowing.
And
there's a documentary now. I'd like to go and we'll talk about this another time, because I think that there's
it was. This last year's been hard on a lot of people. But for those guys, it really does. I've watched how they've, through social media, still in touch with them, and it's just disgusting. 3 million people just cut adrift. While the government's palmed off money to their mates. It's just like disgusting.
No, not fair. And it is. I think people. There's got to be recognised that, for so long now, 60 years coming on. That's been a major export of this country.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we are world renowned.
We made some of the best music ever.
Yeah. And in some ways, I mean, we still do, but it's just not getting.
Yeah, no, it's
not getting pushed and.
Yeah, no, things have changed, and like, people should have been looked after, really.
I think so. On that note, should we play another track?
Okay.
What have we got? What should we? What do you fancy playing? I'll tell you what. Should we play? Going on that, let's do the one we did together. Let's do Broken.
Broken.
So this is Broken.
Yeah,
What's
Broken.
the story?
I just, again, it's kind of Bob Dylan influence. I like, sometimes I wanted to write a song where everything was broken. Just a list of things that were broken. Yeah. It was written during lockdown. I've kind of written a whole lockdown album. After we started that page, Better In Than Out, which the idea was there was no live music, so you recorded a song from your bedroom or from your living room and shared it with the people on it, and that caused some brilliant collaborations from around the world. People were putting drums on from Holland and guitars on from America, so it was just amazing.
It was a genius idea.
And we did this. I wrote this song, and I was trying to do a new song every day, and I wrote this and sent it along to you, and the rest is history.
So this is Broken, Dave Underhand. Tiny bit of help from me. But,
Broken promises, broken homes, broken dreams and broken bones, broken chain and broken mind, broken sleep and broken time, broken shadows, broken truth, broken slates and a broken roof, broken peace and broken war, broken windows, broken doors. You can try to run from me, or you could door wide open. This world is broken. Broken legs and broken arms, broken knives, broken charms, broken record, broken shack, broken smile and a broken back, broken string and broken race, broken clock and broken face, broken truth and broken fears, broken arrow, broken gears. You can try to run from me, or leave the door wide open. This world is broken. Broken TV, broken news, broken red and broken blues, broken rhythm, broken rhyme, broken union, broken line, broken city, broken town, broken up and broken down, broken river, broken land, broken woman, broken man. You can try to run from me, or leave the door wide open. This world is broken.
that was Broken. Something we did during lockdown. Where did you were roadieing? At what point do you want to get back into actually playing?
Yeah, I finished playing. I forgot all about it while we were talking. But when I finished, at one point I was in Big City Groove. I was in a band with Pete called I was in a band with Pete. I was in a band called Trash.
Sorry, Pete.
So I stopped, and I've done it must have been about 11, 12 years ago. Pete was I linked up with Pete again, and he was recording an album, and I went down and ended up kind of executive producer.
Okay, yeah.
And I got Tony involved in it as well, to play some piano on it. It was like very kind of acoustic-y, kind of Tom Waitsy, kind of Dylan-y kind of thing. And I linked in with them, and at the time I'd started to listen to music again, but I hadn't written a song for 20 years. And I got the idea of forming this band with them two, and I wanted it to be a bit like the Waterboys, where you had the band, or Dexys Midnight Runners, where you had the band, and the band was the key people, but it could be 10 people, it could be 5 people, it could be one person.
Yeah.
I went to stay with Pete, and he literally dragged the song out of me. First song I'd written, he said, right, we're going to write a song, and I just had nothing. I literally had nothing at all. I'd not written, I'd wanted to write. And he dragged out a song which became Jeanie's Kitchen, which took me another 5 years to write the music for,
Okay, yeah.
which then ended up on the Dave Underhand, Daze and Daze of Rapture album.
Yeah.
But once he'd opened that, it was like the floodgates burst, and I was like, boom, another one. And what I would do is I'd go to Tony's, and we'd record it, and Tony's in his living room, and then, you know, Pete would come down maybe sometimes, and we started writing songs, and that way. We needed a bass player and drummer. Pete had been in the band with Martin and Bob, who I'd been in the band with as well.
Yeah.
Martin and Bob from Under Two Flags originally. And they seemed the natural people to go to, because we still had links via social media. We'd all been linked in again.
And plus you got that thing of that bass drum combination where that's an important part in any.
So we got them involved, and we just started rehearsing and started recording, and we ended up playing a few gigs. I'd done my first gig in however many years, and we started to develop, and we went on to record a live album at Terminal Studios, Terminally Live, which we did that, and then we found Pat's Collier via his studio, and we just went in there and started to record, and we just continued recording, and before we knew it, well, not before, it took forever. We took a year off at one point, but before with everything else that was going on, we ended up with like a double album.
Yeah, which was
No Way. A Long Way Home.
Long Way Home. Sorry.
So and people were going, you can't release a double album, and you'll have no songs left. And we're like, we've got songs left. Don't worry.
Yeah.
We recorded the double album, and it was, part of it was, not to put too fine a point on it, but when you get to our age, you never know whether there is another album. Seriously.
No, I know.
We're losing people all the time. You know what I mean? And it was like, well, no, let's not put one album out, and then no, let's just put it out. Let's stand by it. You know what I mean? And we did a tip to the Clash. We did it for $5, double album for $5.
Yeah.
And it got great write-ups. Nuz, Prowling Wolf, Blog, Vive La Rock. You know what I mean? We picked up some great write-ups, and it got some great acclaim. We picked up some play on the sort of Radio Caroline and stuff like that, and Foxy Radio and stuff like that. And I stand by it. It's a cracker of an album. You should buy it, or listen to it on Spotify for nothing. Buy it.
Yeah, you definitely should.
There's not a bad track on it.
I've got to admit, I love that album. Like I said, there's always this thing, and you know this, and I know this. How many times in your life has a mate of you come to you and said, I've got something out, have a listen to that, and you go, great. Yeah. But I genuinely love that album.
I stand by it. Musically, it's the best thing. It's the best thing I'd ever done in a band.
Yeah.
Like we was talking earlier, when we're together, we shut the door, whether it be the rehearsal room or the recording studio, and there's the 5 of us in there. We shut out wives, kids, mortgages, bills, debts, the lot, work, and we're back to being 17, 18 again.
We've always had this expression: it's better than playing golf.
Yeah,
you might be, we might be, getting on in years, but you need something to do. And this, I don't know about you. I think there's a similarity between me and you. Is this urge to create?
Yeah, I can't.
You can't not create something.
I did so long of not creating anything. Lockdown to me has been like the most intense time, where I was writing a song a day. I'm going, I record it on my phone, I'll stick it up on Facebook or stick it on YouTube, and it would literally, some of them would be first take, and it was like, no, fuck it, get it out there, it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
that's what it's about. It's we were talking earlier, that's what punk is now. Punk is now is like, do it yourself.
And I think we're in this. We should be in this golden era. This is one of the reasons I wanted to do this thing, because I think that we should be in a golden era now. The access to putting music out, to recording music yourself, and being able to promote it and put it out yourself has never been greater. You've never ever had more access. That whole thing is sort of, the means of production. You can do everything yourself from your bedroom. And there should be more people. I'm not saying there aren't more people doing it, there definitely are, but there should be more people being able to come through from that and not this old school, you've got to have a record deal, you've got to have this, you've got to have that. You should now be able to push forward. And like I said, also the age of the audience. We might be older in band age wise, but we're typical of the audience of, I always say, you look at all the major bands that are filling stadiums and charging massive ticket prices. There's not one under 55.
No, I mean, things need to change, and we need to be able to change with it. I think this lockdown thing's brought a lot with it. Band of the Underhand is very still old school in a way of, there's 5 of us, we meet up, we rehearse, we record, we play gigs. Dave Underhand and the Daze of Rapture, which I do with Del Bartle from Sid Presley's, and is totally different. The idea with that was, I've known Del from years again when we, from Sunday school when he was in Sid Presley's, and the idea with working with Del was I had an acoustic album. I wanted to record my own version of Nebraska.
Okay, yeah.
And I went to Del's and we recorded at the cabin, and that is all very computer based. There's no mixing desk as such. It's all old. It's very kind. And what came out of that Man with No Alibi is totally different, because Del brought the Rapture to it. He brought the kind of psychedelicness, the weirdness, the kind of, and what was going to be just an acoustic album came out as really cinematic.
Yes, yeah, definitely.
And again, that was written through me splitting up with my missus, and through Brexit, and through the kind of a lot of the Trump era as well. And me and Del are both quite political, and that had a major influence on the writing and the recording as well. And some of the songs, like for example, Somewhere in the West, was one of the first songs I wrote after writing Jeanie's Kitchen with Pete. I wrote Somewhere in the West, which is a kind of, to me, it's a, not to try and sound up my own arse, it's a Scorsese kind of, it's the Deer Hunter.
Right, okay, yeah.
It's I'm taking you on it's a film. I'm taking you on a journey.
But you've got to have that visualisation. Yeah. I think the best songs in the world have that sort of visualisation within them. Yeah, so
we're doing that again, and that has been very different because there's no gigs or anything like that. And again, the idea of that is to try and make it more modern, as in the way of it's marketed and sold and put together. Of making it really fluid as well, whereas Band of the Underhand is basically a rock and roll band.
Yes, yeah. So talking of that, so should we play something from Dave Underhand and the Daze of Rapture? What do you want to play from that?
Let's play Jeanie's Kitchen as it's. Jeanie's Kitchen. My mum's called Jean. Pete's mum's called Jean.
Okay.
We lived opposite each other, and Jeanie's Kitchen was, we would hang out in the kitchen.
Yeah.
And this song, there's really only me, Pete, and his brothers are going to understand all of it, because there's so many references to where we grew up and how we grew up. There was no central heating, so you'd go around his house in the winter time, the gas burners would be on, and we'd all be standing on chairs eating cornflakes. Heat rises. That was Jeanie's Kitchen. Jeanie's Kitchen was, my house and his house was a permanent open door.
Yeah.
Their family was
like my
family.
house when I was a kid.
My family was their family. And the crazy thing is, I lost my dad a couple of years ago, and Pete's lost his mum. My mum, his mum and my dad grew up together in Bermondsey. So they used to hang out
same
together
people,
on the
same
scene,
world,
two eyes and plus that.
Yeah.
So Jeanie's Kitchen for me was a brilliant first song, and that's why it took so long getting the music and the vibe right for it.
Because you wanted it to be right.
It needed to be perfect.
Well, let's play that then. So this is Dave Underhand, The Daze of Rapture with Del Bartle.
Yeah.
And this is Jeanie's Kitchen.
I remember when they built this estate, before it was going page. General Custer up against the wall. Never back down, always stand tall. In Jeanie's kitchen, standing on chairs. The hole in the wall gang, they're under the stairs. We walk the walls for days on end. Just you and me, my lifetime friend. But in Jeanie's kitchen, everything changed. In Jeanie's kitchen, nothing stayed the same. In Jeanie's kitchen, standing on the chairs. In Jeanie's kitchen, like without a care. Small blue van, Saturday rehearsal time for bedroom bands. Handmade chariots tearing up the slopes. A 7-inch single gonna give us hope. Men on strike, spray can goes bang. Scarlet Bazooka Joe, an action man. Grazed knuckles, gonna make you cry. Write your name on the wall, 6 feet high. We walk the walls for days on end. Just you and me, my lifetime friend. But in Jeanie's kitchen, everything changed. In Jeanie's kitchen, nothing stayed the same. In Jeanie's kitchen, standing on the chairs. In Jeanie's kitchen, without a care. Warlord action, papers of bills. Bandit street roaming, Cubbies love kills. Street sign basketball for game to play. Wembley trophy, the ball of the day. Major Matt Mason is leading the charge. The Monkey Boot Boys are striking out large. Cul-de-sac heroes and dead men's clothes, saving up for ruffles and an ice cream float. Just kicking a football and knocking on doors. Your finest 19-7 or 4.
So that was Dave Underhand and the Days of Rapture with Del Bartle, and that was Jeanie's Kitchen. So just to finish off, where are we now? We've had lockdown has caused so much disruption for any musician, any band, and I think sort of you more than anyone else as you're probably the most prolific person I know, and doing the Facebook better than an out page, as we were saying, that's really given people a chance to try something different. People who wouldn't have filmed themselves and put themselves on the internet. And I'm wondering sort of, why we're waiting for gigs to come back, and if gigs do come back in this way that we remember. What would you suggest somebody try? If somebody was trying, has got a band now that's not doing anything, what would you suggest they have a go at?
I don't know. It's weird. I'm not technical at all. That's why you're my technical go-to guy. All I can say is that things are going to be different. I would imagine when gigs do come back. We discuss this a lot with friends. Are people going to go to gigs? Will there be a while where people are going, well, I'm not sure, I'm not going to that, or will people just go, fuck it, I'm there?
Yeah.
But I think we've got to take something away from the lockdown. The Better In and Out page, Sam helped me set it up because again I didn't know how to really do it, but I knew what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
It's been amazing. From that page, I recorded the I Can't Breathe after George Floyd got murdered, and that showed me that, hold on a minute, I've got a song here that's been crowdfunded. I've got bass recorded in Philadelphia. I've got guitar recorded in San Diego. I've got guitar recording in Worthing. I'm in a studio in London, and we've put together a record without even being in the same room together. And lockdown has taught me that we can do that. Working with you has taught me that I can write a song, I can record it, and I can have a video out within a day.
Yeah.
And I think that's we need to be creative. And if it's being creative and you're only in your living room, don't be frightened to put it up there with the mistakes in it. Don't be frightened to. Music's nothing if you don't share it.
100%. This is it. It's I think that thing of sort of I've always been the opposite. I've had too little fear, which is sometimes been to my detriment. But I think sort of I've met so many talented people over the time that you go, Jesus Christ, your voice is amazing, and they go, oh yeah, but I don't really get over yourself. Go and do it.
It's very easy, especially like in a band situation where people go, oh no, let's not put it out yet. It's not ready yet. It's not this. It's not that. I put out a version the other day. I shared a version of 504, which was the first version of it. I recorded it on acoustic guitar. Tony's living room. Tony's playing the wash basket. It sounds great, and people want to hear that. I want to hear Joe Strummer record Junko Partner in his bedroom. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you like music and if you like what people do, people want to hear the whole.
See, okay, this then fires in something else, and I've had this discussion, and I've had both sort of people. Oh, I don't really know, and it's that thing about the old school thinking. And I will say, right, if today the Clash was still going, right, and they were recording an album, and what they decided to do was video them writing in the studio, writing and recording that album, right? Not every bit of it, but it's a YouTube channel, right? You'd watch it.
Oh yeah,
right. And when that album came out, you'd buy it.
Yeah. What was Rude Boy? The film Rude Boy was that experience.
100%. But I mean? I'm just that kind of thing of there's this thing of sort of like, oh no, it's all got to be done in secret, and then the music comes out. I don't think that's where
there's a few people that get it right, and Damon Albarn's one of them people.
Yeah, I'll give you that.
You know what I mean? I was never. I worked for Blur once. I got, and then someone said to me, "Oh, would you like to do them again?" I was like, I don't really think they're going to do much. But what he did with The Good, the Bad, the Queen is amazing work. It went two of the best albums that have this country's ever brought up. Topical, bang on it. Paul Simon, to get him out of retirement, it's got to be good.
Yeah.
And he's playing some of the best bass he's ever played on those albums. Anything like that, people want to be part of it.
That's what I think. I mean, we got. I think that's one of the keys that I think can really make a difference to move bands forward. And I think social media's helped that because they're understanding that sort of if you have a community around what you're doing,
use social. You know what I mean. We all use social media for so many negative things. Hands up, I'm one of them. You know what I mean. I'll rant and rave about politics and the government or whatever. During the lockdown, Kurt, Brandon, and Liam. Every Monday night they put on a live. They put on a gig from the vaults,
right?
A Theatre of Hate or a Spirit of Destiny gig at 9 o'clock every Monday throughout lockdown. Not charged anyone anything to watch them. And those Monday nights have kept us sane because we've all met up on a Monday night from our living room. We're all exchanging messages and we're watching the gig. That's music bringing people together. That ain't in the same room, that not even in the same country.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Maybe that's the way to look at it. Maybe, it's hard to get people to gigs. Maybe we need to do, look outside the box. Maybe we need to record gigs without people there.
This is what I want.
As well as...
Yeah, because the other thing is, you're doing a gig in central London. Okay, let's say you do get 400 or 500 people to your gig in central London. That's brilliant. That's everyone's dream these days. But there's a possibility you could video that gig and get 500,000 people watching it around the world.
I think we need to use what we've learnt through the lockdown. I never wanted to... I've seen bands go back and reform and da-da-da-da-da. I never wanted to do that with Lightning Strike. Although through the lockdown thing, and to a certain respect what Kirk's done with re-recording stuff of Spirit of Destiny, the way he wanted it to sound.
Yeah.
I decided to go, all right, okay, I'll get in touch with the boys. Let's start putting some Lightning Strike stuff up. Because I do get a lot of people comment going, oh, were you in Lightning Strike?
Yeah.
And because we were pre-internet, there's a lot of our stuff that isn't up there. So I finally bit the bullet and started a Lightning Strike page, and obviously you've been helping out putting gigs from CBGBs up, because not just for them but for my kids. You know what I mean? If it's up on the internet, it's going to be up there forever. And I think music deserves to be up there forever.
I think that's wicked. Well, should we leave it at that point?
Okay.
Dave, thank you so much for doing this. This has been an absolute pleasure. I think
Thank you for the coffee.
This might work. Let's go out with one last track. What do you want to play? It could be any of the projects, any of the things.
Let's play Band of the Underhand, 504. 504 was inspired by watching the HBO series called Treme. I only know 2 or 3 other people that watched it. If you get a chance, watch it. It's the only TV series that ever caught music properly, and that was because it used real musicians in it. And it's basically about life in New Orleans after Katrina.
Okay.
And it links in well with things like Grenfell and South London, where they knock down the Haygate estate and they move everybody away. It's about having your hometown taken off of you by the developers.
So let's do that.
Okay, 504.
Thanks again, Dave. So this is Band of the Underhand, 504.
I don't know how to fit a rock like this. Not now. You can imitate, but you can never duplicate. 504.
I'll head to the 504. Can't go back home anymore. Steel shutters on my front door. Hail, hail to the 504. What has come and washed away? Who'd have thought it in the USA? You sit around and pretend to care. Get your ass out of that easy chair and turn around the houses in my neighborhood. I can't go back there and I wish I could. On my front door, said you ain't welcome in the 504. Hail, hail to the 504. Can't go back home anymore. Steel shutters on my front door. Hail, hail to the 504. First they moved me to the Astrodome. They said me to college, yeah, that's no home. I wanna come back and join the marching band. The man from the gunman stole my land. There's no music playing on the tramway. No Indian singing good time not me. Now take me back to the Mardi Gras. 10,000 miles it ain't too far. Hail, hail to the 504. Can't go back home anymore. Steel shutters on my front door. Hail, hail to the 504. Look out the window onto the street. There's the prettiest girl that you'll ever meet. Got beads round her neck and a beer in her hand. She's dancing to a marching band. Trini come and wash it all away. Who will let me say it will not say? Who steps in their blues to be? Who puts the city back on its feet? Hail, hail to the 504. Can't go back home anymore. Steel shutters on my front door. Hail, hail to the 504. Hail, hail to the 504. Can't go back home anymore. Steel shutters on my front door. Hail, hail to the 504. Hail, hail to the 504. Can't go back home anymore. Steel shutters on my front door. Hail, hail to the 504. Hail, hail to the 504. Can't go back home anymore. Steel shutters on my front door. Hail, hail to the 504. Hail, hail to the 504. Hail, hail to the 504.
That was our interview with the fantastic Dave Earl. I just wanted to say a huge thank you to Dave for one, not only being brave enough to come on the first episode, but for being incredibly honest. I thought that was a really honest, open interview, and I'm really glad we did that. Thanks a lot, Dave. Just to explain exactly who I am and where I come from, I was originally in a rock band in the 90s called Underdog. We had a bit of success back then. I now have another band which is called Branded Human, and we've just released our debut album. As another part to what I do, I'm actually the bass player in the reformed Buddy Curtess and the Grasshoppers. Fantastic band from back in the 80s, and I'm really proud to be doing that as well. Talking of Buddy Curtess and the Grasshoppers, let's make them our next track. At some point, I'm going to try and get some of the band in. I definitely want to get Tony in. I definitely want to get Mike in. And we'll see how many other members of Buddy Curtess and the Grasshoppers we can get in and do some interviews with as well. But for now, this track's called Real Girl. This is a live recording from a gig back in 2018 that we did at the legendary 100 Club in London. So this is Buddy Curtess and the Grasshoppers with Real Girl.
We call this song the Real Girl. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, come on!
So there we go. That was a fantastic live track from Buddy Curtess and the Grasshoppers. I know I'm biased, but it was still a fabulous band. So we're coming to the end of the first episode. I really hope you've enjoyed what we're trying to do with the show. If you like the idea, please subscribe to the channel and you'll be able to see more episodes as soon as they come out. Also, if you like any of the tracks that we played today, let us know in the comments below. Let us know what your favourite tracks are. Let us know what you'd like to hear again. And maybe if this goes on, we might end up doing some sort of chart where bands get replayed because of the popularity they've had in the comments. So please subscribe to the channel and leave some comments below. Okay, we're going to close the show now, and seeing as it's my show and I can play whatever I like, I'm going to play something from my band. So this is Branded Human. Picture this. See you next time.
This. Take a step on the highway, will you fall, will you slip? While you're making your mind up, get a hold, losing your grip. No one says it was easy, do you fall, do you slip? Yeah, your life is a minefield, are you falling, 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 are you falling? Ooh, picture this. if you ain't lived. Now no time to be wide-eyed, dig your hole, dig your ditch. Living out on the wild side, are you falling? 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 Who am I to say that you're not welcome to this nightmare? Who am I to say that you're not welcome to this nightmare? Who am I to say that you're not welcome to this nightmare? Who am I to say that you're not welcome? You're not welcome. Picture this. Take a step on the high wire. Will you fall? Will you slip? While you're making your mind up, get a hold, you're losing your grip. No one said it was easy. Do you fall? Do you slip? Yeah, your life is a minefield. Are you falling? 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 Are you falling?